whisper video, Soothing Sounds by Pearl. It's been a little while since I've posted or been able to record anything, but the time has come. I'm still not sure with what regularity I'm going to be posting because things are getting weird, guys. It just seems like life has had my head under the water for a while now and doesn't want to let me up. Anyway, the results are in from my blood work and echocardiogram. I think I had mentioned in my last video that the ultrasound came back clean, which is cool. No, I don't have a hernia or any, no edema or embolisms or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with any of my organs and my stomach, the main concern. So that was cool, but then it took like another week and a half to get my results, and the only reason I got them was because I pushed for them. And that's kind of a side remark I want to make is, advocate for yourselves, guys, with your doctors and healthcare professionals and stuff, because, especially if you're young, because a lot of times anybody under a certain age, like under 40 or 50, they just get kind of brushed off as nothing or whatever, because we're young and vital, like we can't have issues, and that's just not the case. So I called the doctor's office, let's see, about a little more than a week ago. Actually, no, it was a week ago today. I called the doctor's office, and they said that the results were in, but the doctor hadn't gotten a chance to look at them. So I was kind of frustrated by that. I'm like, okay, I could have a heart issue, and no one's looked at my results. And it's been almost 2 weeks since I had the echo done and the blood work done. So a couple days go by, and I call back again, and this time the whoever I spoke to over the phone, the receptionist, she kind of, because I was like, I'm trying to get my results, and she said, oh, well, typically when you don't hear anything back, that means it's all clear, nothing was odd or off. And, me being me, and I have my intuition, and just things haven't felt right, I was insistent, so I was like, yeah, I called 3 days ago, and I was told that the results were in, but they hadn't been looked at yet, so I'd like them to be looked at. So she was like, oh, let me transfer you. So she transferred me over to the doctor's actual office, because she works out of 2 offices. Yeah, so I had a Zoom call with my doctor, and it turns out that I do have high cholesterol, despite, now, I don't fully know, she said it was higher than she would like. My LDL was like 130 something, so, I'll have to research that some more and look into that, because I've heard of people having it like really, really high in their, in their 60s and kicking. I know my dad has really high cholesterol levels naturally, and he's been a smoker his whole life, but as you guys by now know, I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I take really good care of myself. So, and that wasn't the only thing that was concerning and kind of upsetting. After these months and months of, honestly, like a year and a half of feeling like something was off in my chest and my heart, the doctor said that she saw on my echo results calcification and thickening of one of my heart valves, and I think it's the one that is responsible for pumping blood out. So, that takeaway, listen to your body and your intuition. I don't know what this means for me, and I'll get into that in a minute. But, for months and months, it felt like my heart was beating what's strange is that's typically a sign of like a kidney dysfunction, but my kidneys, my blood work, my thyroid, my pancreas, my kidneys and liver, like everything was good. White blood cell count, everything I think was good. So, why I've had that issue, it's called hyperkalemia, and I've had that issue since at least I was 20, I think. In fact, it was so bad that that's what landed me in the hospital many, many years ago. I made the mistake of having like a cup of orange juice and a banana before I went to the doctor, because I didn't know you were supposed to fast before getting blood taken. I was only 20 and only had experience with pediatricians up until that point, but yeah, I had like half a banana and a cup of orange juice, and I went and got my blood taken, and they were like, "Oh my God, you need to go to the hospital now," because my potassium levels were just like off the charts. So when they tested them again, they were level or stable or whatever, but they were still kind of high. But anyway, which explains some things, because if I eat like bananas, avocados, too much coconut, I feel kind of not well, and I think that could have something to do with it. But I'm still in the dark as far as like why that happens. It was also confirmed that I do in fact have alpha-gal, which is the allergy to beef and pork. So it's been medically diagnosed now, and I have an EpiPen. I think I mentioned that last time, but because last time it was like just in case you do have it, here's an EpiPen, but now it's confirmed I do have alpha-gal. Thinking on it now, I'm a little concerned because I made a follow-up appointment with my doctor for this week to get checked out and tested for Lyme's disease, because I'm in the woods all the time and I've picked many ticks off myself and Dennis. And that's another thing I'm going to get to, is Dennis's health and his situation, because I feel like I'm living in a loop right now. But, my thought would be alpha-gal is a tick-borne illness. So with the issues and symptoms that I have, I would think checking for another tick-borne illness, the big one, Lyme's disease, would be sort of the logical next step, but it wasn't even mentioned, so I called and made the appointment. Again, advocate for yourselves. You gotta make those calls, because your doctor's not always gonna do it. And, for whatever reasons, they have other patients, they have a lot going on, they're human error, but you have to be the one to push for these things. So I'll see how that comes back. I'm just sort of, I don't know how to feel, because I don't know. Right now I'm at in this place where I still, like, physically, the physical symptoms of my anxiety, and I'm loosely using that word now, because now there's something physical that I can point to and go, okay, well, I'm not absolutely crazy. How severe the issue is, I won't know until I go to the cardiologist and have more tests done. But considering I haven't felt right for like a year and a half almost, I'll be honest, I'm kind of scared of what they're going to say, what my prognosis is going to be, and kind of defeated, considering, how well I take care of myself, and have been taking care of myself for the last decade. Especially with a really active job the last 4 years. Almost every day I'm taking more than 10,000 steps. The hikes. I'm on my feet when I work. We go to parks all the time. Like, there are very few days where I'm sedentary. On top of that, my training and the things we do to stay active and stay healthy. Lifting weights and eating meticulously, and it's not dieting, it's just like a lifestyle for me at this point. And I enjoy it, but I like to eat, a certain way and almost skew it to achieve different results for my body. So it's kind of just a kick in the gut to be told after all that yeah, your heart's not doing great. And that's probably why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And it's just like the last couple of weeks have been really rough, and it's getting worse. And the panic attacks every time I go hiking, feels like if I'm not in this room, I get super worked up. My fingernails and hands turn purple, and I went to walk around in the city yesterday with Dennis before work, and as soon as we started walking around, I felt really cold, and my fingernails turned purple, and I just had pain in my chest, and I'm trying to ignore it, but it's like, it's right there all the time. So it's like, I feel like I'm backsliding to where I was in October, and my goal was to get out of here, soon, and that's another thing that's in jeopardy and unknown, is if I'm going to be able to move at all, if, not soon enough, but, because I don't know what is going on with my heart exactly. I don't know what kind of shape it's in, for the better or worse, but that could change a lot, as far as my plans go, and I just feel like I'm so far from being anywhere near where I want to be, even that first step toward where I want to be, and it's just really frustrating. Because then on top of that, there's the depression of the situation. Like, it just depresses the hell out of me to think about everything I never became, and then the fear of, this new resurgence of fear and mortality, like I had when I was a kid. It's like when you first discover death, and you realize that's gonna happen to you. That fear that everything you know is gone, and it's just, for me, because I don't have faith in anything. It's like, that's it. What do you see when you close your eyes? Nothing. That's what's there. It's this weird, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's very overwhelming, and it's constant. I have these little flashes of time where I'll feel better. Like in the gym on Saturday, I think. My workout started kind of rough. I was feeling, a little sluggish, and chest hurt a little bit. My stomach's a little off. I just, didn't feel great for the first, 20, 30 minutes of my workout. And by the end of the workout, you couldn't stop me from doing more reps. I just kept pushing, and it felt good. And I left the gym feeling fine. I wasn't, wiped out, or I didn't feel off, but, I've also had to leave the gym because I felt like I was having a stroke, so it's just a lot up in the air. And then, again, living in this loop. I took Dennis to the vet today because he was due for some vaccinations, just, standard stuff. And the last time Dennis was at the vet, it was a very stressful situation because he had to have surgery to have cancerous growth removed from his face. And, I was in shambles the whole time over that. And it's funny because, since October, basically, I've been saying, once this is over, I'll feel better. And then I don't feel better. And then I think, well, once this thing happens, I'll feel better. And I don't feel better. Well, once this thing's over, I'll feel better. And I don't feel better. And what's kind of grim is, is it really in my mind, or is it something physically actually taking me out? That's the concern. Because the dawn never comes, it seems. And that's also part of the reason why I haven't done any new affirmation videos, because I don't want to lie. I don't want to be disingenuous. I do not feel hopeful. And I don't know if I'm going to get out of this one. I've been in some pretty tight jams in my life, with my health and my anxiety, but this one feels, I don't know. I really don't know this time it's just like, I don't know what it's gonna bring. So in a month he has surgery, and it's just a lot. I've been getting headaches more often, and I don't really get headaches very often, but I have the last week or two, and I think it's just stress. I'd like to believe it's stress. I don't know. I don't get headaches, so when it happens, I'm like concerned because I don't get headaches. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just in a real bind right now, and I don't know what's gonna happen. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer, but I wanted to be honest with you guys and not sugarcoat anything. Just give you a real-time breakdown of what's going on and how I'm feeling about it. It's pretty crazy though. And there's just always this looming feeling of death right there at any time. And again, I don't know if that's the anxiety or what's going on within me, because that's the other thing. It's like, me being me, I make the mistake every time of reading into things pretty heavily, but like, from what I read, it's something that it's not super common in people my age to have calcification and stiffening of the heart valve. At least, again, from what I read, that's not very common. That's usually 65 or older. And there's little things here and there. Some articles say like, most people don't notice it as it happens. The thickening of the heart valves, they don't really notice it. People can live, normal, healthy lives and just manage it if they do notice it. But then, I've read things that said calcification and thickening of the heart valve, once you start experiencing symptoms, the prognosis is like 2 to 3 years without surgical intervention. And that just made my heart sink, because I'm basically in a chicken versus egg scenario here. Like, what begat what? Like, what comes first here? Was it something actually wrong with my heart a year and a half ago that made me start having these weird symptoms, or was that my anxiety, which has been known to just flare up? I think I spoke about this in my anxiety video from months ago, but one of my first and most powerful experiences with anxiety was completely random. After the winter break, going into my second semester of my first year of college, I show up to school, I'm ready to go, and I get onto the campus, and I flip out. There's people everywhere, the parking lot's full, and I panicked. Like, I felt like I was gonna die. My heart started beating, and I started hyperventilating, and I drove away. So, it's not uncommon for my anxiety to just click on. And the last 2 times this has happened, in 2010 and 11, it sort of slowly dissipated until it was nothing. And in 2016, it just snapped off. I was hoping for a snap off, but I seemed to be going toward the fade, and then bam, it's right back up. And things just seem to be getting worse again. And I don't know if it's, for me, it's sometimes the smallest triggers. And for as much as I would like to believe, or do sometimes truly believe, that it's not my anxiety that causes the physical symptoms, it's the physical thing that starts, and then that makes the anxiety in my mind go. Which is true to a degree. Like, I was telling my friend that it's like my body knows that I'm getting ready to do certain things, so my nervous system starts reacting in this pattern. She called it like a feedback loop, but for instance, I'll go to the gym or I'll do something before work, and then I usually take 20 to 30 minutes to just hang out with Dennis before I go. I'll just like lay in bed with him and watch TV or something before I go, but for the last couple of weeks, when I'm sitting in bed, hanging out with him in those minutes before work, my chest will start to get tight, and my throat will start to close up, and I'm just, relaxing, and eventually I shake it off, but it's like my body knows what's happening. consistent.